for rolling with us as we're late. Today we are going to prep some delicious ground beef, Ragù, ravioli. We're also going to talk about how to be unfuckwithable at work. Turning the camera around for the far right Latina girlfriend to film. All right, first step is we want to get the water boiling because that's going to take, it's actually going to take the longest to boil the water and cook the ravioli. But while we're doing that, we're going to, this is going to be super wet. It's probably going to have to be a little bit more cleanup than we want, but that's okay. I'm going to take some scissors and open this Costco Bison that's actually been in the freezer for over 2 years, 2.5 years. Down at the bottom, but we're getting through the end of our half cow, and you can see the integrity of the beef has remained the same because you can freeze meat for quite some time without it going bad. Maybe some degree of nutrient degradation, but what are you gonna do? Pour this liquid out, and we're obviously, we're gonna let the paper towel soak up some of the meat juice just so we can get a good sear on. So that is pretty close to boiling. Forgot to wash my hands, so I'm gonna wash my hands right now. Just got done with massage and dealing with bankers. So I want to make sure that my hands are clean for this food. Okay, so step number one with the meat, we're going to put a lot of salt on there. I would estimate this is going to be about 1.5 tablespoons, just like twice as much as what most people would recommend, but there's sissies with the salt. Okay, now that this water has reached a boil, we are going to move it to a smaller flame, and we're going to put the cast iron on the big flame. That's the hottest flame, and all this gunk that's on there is actually from the Parmesan crusted New York strips that I cooked last night. It turned out to be amazing. So that's going to flavor the bison beyond the salt that we're adding to it right now. So let me just mix this up so the salt is roughly evenly distributed before throwing the ground beef onto the pan. And then while the ground beef cooks on the pan, we're going to cut up the garlic cloves, keep them on the side so that I'm the only one who's going to be eating that, because I'm the only one who likes garlic in the house or who's not allergic to it. So we're just going to put this meat on right now, even though the pan has not reached, actually ignore that. You know what, we're going to cook it a little bit more properly, which requires me to wash my hands, or at least rinse them off. Now we're going to throw the ravioli in for about 7 minutes.
I get like a cutting board to put under the meat so it's not directly on the counter. Cute.
All right, I'm going to put 6 ravioli in, probably 4 for myself, a couple for 4-year-old, and then we're going to talk about how to be unfuckwithable at work and post your questions below. Okay, so we're going to throw these ravioli in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is 1:15 Central, so we're going to take them out at 1:22 Central Standard Time. That is becoming quite hot. You can see the oil coming up. What's interesting is I didn't put that much butter on that pan. That's mostly the fat from the New York strip last night. We're going to start throwing this bison on there.
You put it on a lower vent, the vent lower. You need to put it lower.
All right, so while we're doing that, we're going to toss Again, paper towels. Ravioli that I'm using is a gluten-free almond flour ravioli, available at the local Costco. Very delicious, very easily accessible, and part of our 20-minute lunch prep is usually what we shoot for. Basically the same amount of time as it would take to go drive to McDonald's and sit in the drive-thru. Okay, so while we're doing this, we're going to cut up the garlic. We get spatula to make sure we can stir the ground beef as it cooks. Cut this down the center, make sure we're nothing sprouting in these things. I don't know if you can eat these sprouts. Sometimes I cut them out, sometimes I eat them. I don't want garlic growing inside me. Probably some wives' tale. So sometimes I excavate them like I'm deveining a shrimp or something like that. Probably not necessary whatsoever. Okay, so we're going to chop up this garlic. And as we're chopping up this garlic, I actually want to do one thing really quickly. I'm going to pour some of this Bison juice. I'm going to pour it onto the skillet. And then I'm going to turn that skillet on. We're going to dice up the garlic. Put the garlic on the skillet. And on to our topic about being unbucketable at work. So basically a lot of people, if you're a really good student, you've spent your entire life sort of jumping for professors or for third parties. When they say jump, you've been trained to say how high if you've got good grades. You've basically been trained to be obedient. You've been trained to go through performance reviews. You've been trained to get stressed out if you think the teacher doesn't like you. You have been trained to become an ideal employee, which is also an ideal corporate slave who has not developed his or her own identity outside of third-party performance reviews. So, if that is you, one of the crazy things is you might not realize that you can opt out of that system even after you've made enough money to opt out of that system. This reminds me of a conversation that I had with an executive client who didn't realize that he didn't have to take shit from an employer. He didn't realize that he had already essentially earned his way out of the system because he was so deeply embedded in the system that he just figured that everybody he knew did it. It was something that he had to do. He didn't ever take a step back and say, well, no, there's nothing that these people can do to me that I let them. I don't have to let my company control my health. All right, this has been frying very well on one side, so we're going to flip it. Almost like it's a burger. And what we're gonna do here is, so we have a little bit of crispiness. We're actually gonna turn this off because I like this to be rare, medium rare. This is grass-fed bison. And so once we turn it off, it's still gonna cook. It's gonna be pink, but it's gonna be like the appropriate pink for the Ragù sauce. All right, we're gonna change the way I had planned on doing it. We're gonna finish off my girlfriend's portion of this on the skillet. I'm just gonna keep this on the side, as well as keep a little bit of bison for our 4-year-old. And we'll keep Chef Alex's portion on the main skillet. We're gonna throw some tomato sauce on there, which is gonna make it a little bit challenging for cleanup, but it's not gonna be that bad because we're not gonna put a lot of tomato sauce Okay, so now that we have that going, we're going to turn this flame back on. We're going to move the meat to the side so it doesn't get overheated, and we're going to throw our garlic into the mix. And the ravioli has been cooking for about 6 minutes right now, so about 1 more minute and that ravioli comes out. So the key to basically being unassailable at your job is to realize that get in a position, number one, where your company needs you more than you need them. If you don't need their paychecks, you can obviously be in a much better spot to have them not need you more than you need them. But even if you need their paycheck, if you're overseeing some mission critical portion of the business, they need you. They need you more than you need them. And you should always know that. You should always rest assured that it will be more painful for them to let you go than it will be for them to pay you. And once you realize that, you should have a lot of calmness about your job security. Okay. Now that we are nearly done, we're going to pour a little bit of tomato sauce onto cast iron. We're going to add a little bit of salt to the tomato sauce. And finally, we are ready to start throwing the ravioli into the mix while we save a couple of the ravioli for a 4-year-old who is not going to want garlic on hers. That's okay. Okay. See, this garlic is getting nice and crispy. That's how we like it. What we're going to do now is get this Ragù nice and beefy. We're going to turn this off. We're going to take our plate, put a bed of Bison Ragù on the bottom. Put a couple ravioli on the top, and then we'll sprinkle everything with a nice Bison Ragù spread. Throw a little bit of Parmesan cheese on the top, and in 15 minutes we have a nice, delicious lunch. Let's see how Chef Alex did. Love that. Love that creaminess popping out of that gluten-free ravioli. Very good. Very, very good. Chef Alex didn't miss. It's like a $10 meal from Costco. Probably $25 if you got an Italian restaurant. Take longer to get done. So if you're not cooking that for yourself or your family at home, you should learn. Thank you for tuning in. Wednesdays, Fridays, 2 p.m. Eastern, every week. Bring your appetite, bring your questions to Lunch and Livestream. And of course, Chef Alex doesn't miss. Thank you.